Besides the sacking of Christian Horner earlier in the year, we haven't had much of a silly season in 2025, probably because all the good stuff happened last year, but now it's all kicking off at Aston Martin again as they've got a new team principal. Adrian Newey will be the Aston Martin team principal next season. Yep, Adrian Newey, Aston team principal, which has led to a lot of discussion online, mostly along the lines of, hang on, isn't this the design guru who worked for Fittipaldi, March, Leighton House, Williams, McLaren and Red Bull? Why yes it is. But the thing is, this whole thing has come just 13 months after the last team principal was installed. And while we've been memeing and bantering over how Alpine has been doing it the last couple of years, Aston isn't much better with the constant chopping and changing. While Alpine has got its so-called 5-year plan, which is now 5-year plan version 3, no, it's for realsies this time, Aston actually seems to have a, well, plan. An L plan, if you will, while Alpine is on plan L, after plans A through to K have failed miserably. While Lawrence Stroll cops a lot of flack for having his own kid in the car, there is a lot going on over at Aston Martin, and has been over the last few years. Having been to Silverstone a few times over the last 3 years or so, the scene at the Aston factory has become something completely different. They're building new facilities, they're doing a lot of different stuff, and Aston as a brand has become more present elsewhere, particularly with the World Endurance Championship, because the Valkyrie exists, both as a Le Mans hypercar and as a road-going monster. Now, before the anoraks pipe up, the Valkyrie isn't actually built at the F1 factory, it's built by Multimatic, I think? Okay, anoraks, in you come. But all of this shows intent by Lawrence Stroll, whether you like him or not. Alonso is also in the squad replacing Vettel, who also brought a lot of experience, but the team is in a transitional phase right now. A bad 2025 season has frustrated both drivers, so it looks like focus might be on 2026 when Newey can really flex his pencil and hit the ground running. At least, that's the theory. The team recently splashed out on a new complex at Silverstone that includes a new wind tunnel, driver simulator, design offices and factory floor. It's a far cry from the setup that Eddie Jordan and his ragtag band of rock and roll misfits had there in the 90s. So that's what Aston is planning, but the big question remains, why Newey? Didn't they announce somebody about a year ago and now they're changing it again? They did, and that's the weird part. Andy Cowell was the man that you're thinking of. The BBC reported that Cowell was on the edge of losing his job, with sources saying that Cowell and Newey had been having disagreements. Whether those disagreements were over how to fix the 2025 car or what to do with 2026, nobody knows. But the reports that came out on BBC Sport last Saturday all started speculation that Christian Horner might be returning to the sport, which would also involve Horner taking some shares in the team. Other rumoured targets for Aston included former McLaren team principal Andreas Seidel and other former McLaren boss Martin Whitmarsh, who, funnily enough, once worked for Aston. Because who did Cowell replace? Yep, Whitmarsh. Unsurprisingly, Whitmarsh said no to the job offer. And it wasn't a straight F off. He thanked Lawrence Stroll for the opportunity to come back and do his old job, but he doesn't really want to be doing that kind of job in Formula 1 anymore. I've been reading up on things and apparently he's doing something with wind power now. The BBC also said that the disagreements between Cowell and Newey stem from that while Cowell is Newey's boss and sits above him in the hierarchy at Aston, Newey is the highest earner at the team, and is a major shareholder. And with that, he holds Stroll's attention more, and the attention of the staff around him. It makes him more powerful based off the fact that he owns a portion of the team, and his track record speaks for itself. The bloke knows what he's doing. 12 constructors winning cars. The only other people who come close to that amount are the likes of Patrick Head, Ross Brawn, Rory Byrne and John Barnard. Maybe Aldo Costa as well. But the Horner rumours haven't gone away. Following Horner's departure from Red Bull, any rumour that Horner could wangle his way into Aston Martin was denied by Newey, who said that, at the time Horner was sacked, that he didn't want to be in the same room as the former Red Bull boss. Although that wasn't actually said by Newey, but came from a BBC source inside Red Bull. Although the BBC did note that a few months ago, Newey and Horner were spotted in attendance at one of the Oasis reunion concerts. So is there a chance that Christian Horner could still end up at Aston Martin? I said maybe. That's terrible. Actually, thinking about it, this is kind of the inverse of the best joke that I ever wrote for a video, which was Newey, Lewis and the News, when we all thought that Adrian Newey was going to Ferrari to join Lewis. So it's Newey, Lewis and the News. See? Brilliant. This one, complete opposite. Anyway, where was I? So as it is, Newey is now the team principal. At least, he will be from next year. The team has realised that Newey is by far the most qualified man at that team and the most experienced. So he's the team principal, just not officially. So why not make him the team principal? It seems logical. But Cowell will still be around. He's just been moved elsewhere. He'll become the chief strategy officer and will be the manager of the partnership between Aston, their sponsors, and Honda, and the Honda relationship will begin in 2026. This will, according to Aston, allow the two to focus on their individual strengths. But, at the same time, it does raise a valid point. Aston has now had 4 team principals in as many years. Newey follows Ottmar Schaffnauer, Mike Crack, and now Andy Cowell. But the shuffle was, according to Stroll, 100% mutual. So, Adrian Newey as a team principal. Most of the media outlets seemed blindsided by this, as earlier in the week most of them were getting the Horner signs for Aston headlines ready a few months in advance, as he won't be able to start work until the summer of 2026. It's a role that Newey has never had, although in the 80s he did do some race engineering for Johnny Cecotto in Formula 2 and was Bobby Rahal's race engineer in kart when he was at March. And funnily enough, Rahal tried to hire Newey when he was the Jaguar boss in the early 2000s. And a lot of people might be thinking, but he's the designer. But this is Formula 1 in 2025. The design of the car isn't one person anymore. It's a large team because of the CAD stuff, the CFD stuff, the wind tunnel stuff, and there might be individual groups working on certain sections of the cars. While Newey is often credited for everything, as he often was at Red Bull, there was the team working with him. Newey would draw up the ideas, and the rest of the team turned it into a 3D or physical model to see if it worked. And actually, this is part of the rumoured reason why Red Bull has fallen apart like it has done over the last 18 months or so. The design team under Newey was sick of him getting all the credit for the car being good, so they just tried to do it all on their own. But it's not the first time that somebody from this part of a team has ended up in a team principal role. Andrea Stella was Michael Schumacher's race engineer at Ferrari, and he holds a PhD in aeronautics and also has a couple more engineering degrees. Now he's the team principal of a McLaren team that's just turned things around from finishing outside the top 10 to winning 2 constructors titles in a row. On the other hand, Mattia Binotto was a great engine guy, not so good as a team leader. So it's one of those things. Another thing people are mentioning here is Newey's age. The guy is 67 years old at the end of the year and doesn't have that much experience in being a team principal. Stella, by comparison, is 54 years old and has had a bit more time to mature, as a team principal that is. This has led to one online publication saying that the appointment is simply a Christian Horner stopgap, although this might just be a ploy to get clicks. But that said, Newey has been around Patrick Head, Frank Williams, Ron Dennis and Christian Horner over the course of his career. He might have learned a thing or two, and while at Williams he wanted to have a hand in picking drivers, so it actually might turn out alright. As Sean Lahan wrote in a comment section, Stroll has given Newey ultimate control over the car above anybody, above himself, so why not give him the team principal role? The only concern is that Newey doesn't like politics or faff. Is that something he's got to suck up and deal with, or is this something that the likes of Zach Brown, Toto Wolff and co could exploit? Or will they hire a mouthpiece to do all the talking and let Newey do what he's good at? Stroll could do that himself, but at the moment he seems content to just hand Newey the keys to the team and say, just be Adrian Newey and do what you gotta do. But the comments seem to be of the opinion that while out of the blue it does make sense. Newey was outranked when he knew better, so he'll make a great team principal, said one person. Someone called Chris Moore is described as being eager, while any concerns about Stroll interfering from the outside were shot down by a man simply known as T, who said, you can't run a team where someone is overruling the TP from the outside. But Mr. T did say that he did have doubts that Stroll might end up being like one of those football club chairmen that can't help himself when it comes to recruiting players. One of these situations where the manager wants the 19-year-old who's been banging them in for fun at a lower league club, but the chairman wants the 37-year-old who has a big name attached. This 37-year-old who was once great for Chelsea 10 years ago, but he's been out injured more months than he's played games. I'm just flicking through the races opinion piece here just to see what points their guys have made to see if we can extrapolate some stuff from it. Samath Kanal asked why they didn't do this sooner. If they wanted him in this role, they should have offered him the job when they went in for him. His concern is whether Newey can hack it as a team principal, and if not, then it'll be like some of the comments on social media have been, a stopgap for somebody like Horner. Like already mentioned, Aston has had 4 team principals in as many years. If they do decide, nah, let's get Christian in, it'll be 5 in 5 and a bit years. Maybe 6 if they decide to do it in time for 2027. At that point, you have to question what's going on at the top. Gary Anderson said that they're repeating the mistake that Ferrari made in hiring Mattia Binotto. Jack Benyon said that this is unfathomable in terms of a decision, offering a 67-year-old man a job he's never done before without him working under somebody else first, which is the same opinion shared by many, and I'm sure many of you are thinking in the comments right now. While he might have watched Williams, Dennis and Horner do their work, he's never been properly underneath them, shadowing them, learning from them. Although I've not seen any of this with my own eyes, so you never know. But Josh Suttill and Glenn Freeman are thinking that this might end up being a stroke of genius. Who better to dish out the orders of the direction of the car and the captain that steers the ship than Newey? But Freeman then said it will mean that all this means that Newey won't be as hands-on and cooking with the 2026 car as a lot of people might have first thought. Again, as everybody thought at Red Bull. It's more that he'll feed ideas to the team and then they put them into action. But like already mentioned, he'll likely get the credit if it all works. And that's actually where I'm sitting, because for every Andrea Stella there's a Mattia Binotto. At the same time, not everything that Newey has touched has turned to gold. McLaren didn't win a championship after 1999, and the next one in 2008, Newey was at a new team. A team that finished, let me just check, 7th in the Constructors. I think what people need to factor in over the next year or so is that it won't be a one-man ticket to a good car. There's more going on than a lot of people realise, and if the car isn't good, then don't blame the people working under Newey. Likewise, if the car is good, don't think the reason for all that success is Newey. It's more likely that he'll just be doing this job as a formality. Delegating stuff seems more his thing and he'll be more of a guiding light in things. What Aston needs is a leader and they might just have it. So in a way, it might just be that Newey's job is just, well, a little bit different to what we're seeing. If he's got the right people working with him, it should be doable. But if he doesn't, then the whole thing could fall apart just as easily. So it's a risk that could carry a massive reward, but it will require everybody working in tandem to be able to pull it off. If Aston Martin does pull it off, then there will be a team of engineers run by an engineer. And that's something we haven't seen in Formula 1 for a very, very long time. So then, a look at the news that Adrian Newey has been appointed the new team principal over at Aston Martin. If this has been an interesting video for you, then do give it a like so I know a good job was done, and for more from the channel, get subscribed and also get the bell on so you never miss out on anything else that I do around here. Massive thanks as ever go out to the rad lads over at Patreon for the continued support, and if you want to help support the channel at a more personal level, then there will be a link to Patreon down in the description, along with links to Discord, socials, affiliates and any other bits and pieces you might want or need to know. Well, there's super thanks for any one and done donations and memberships so you can do Patreon, but without going to Patreon. So until next time, I've been Aidan Millward, have a great day wherever you are, and goodbye.